Movie starts with a woman's voice saying she married the man of her dreams. 6 years ago, they were deeply in love. But things changed 2 years ago when the man went to study in America. When he returned, the woman, his wife, saw several text messages on his phone clearly indicating that he had met up with his ex in America. And not just met, but it seemed they had a romantic time together. Since he came back from America, he's been angry with his wife. From that point, the woman decided to stay silent and put God first. Every night she prays for her husband to return to his old self. They even separated their bedrooms, with the husband sleeping in his own room and the wife in hers. The wife's name is May, and the husband's name is Jaladi. At night, May would often go into Jaladi's room to pray for him. One day, he woke up before May started praying. He began to chase her out of the room, even pouring water on her. But before continuing, please subscribe to Nigeflixes and turn on notifications. The next morning, May prepares tea for her husband. When she serves the food, Jaladi starts complaining, asking, "What is this?" May replies, "It's bread and sausage." May asks, "Why? What's wrong?" Jaladi says he wants pulao and can't eat sausages right now. May explains that cooking pulao would make her late for a work presentation. Jaladi retorts, "Oh, so you have time to sneak into my room at night, but no time to cook for your husband? Fine. Now, go into the kitchen and cook for me." May tries to avoid cooking, but is unsuccessful and has to go to the kitchen. Meanwhile, at May's workplace, her colleagues are wondering where she is. The time is up, and the boss also asks, "Where is May?" Someone responds that she hasn't arrived yet. The boss says, "Tell her if the investors come and she's not here, she will lose her job." The boss was very angry and left. Much later, May finally arrives at the office. The investors have already left. May starts praying. Her friend, named Emma, who knows the state of May's marriage, suspects her husband caused the delay. Emma tells May, "The boss wants to see you in his office. Prepare yourself because he is very angry." May takes a deep breath and goes to the boss's office. She sits down and listens. The boss says, "Despite what you did, we succeeded. The investors liked your work and decided there was no need to come again. They just sent their documents." May is shocked, unable to believe it. The boss is very happy. May goes to tell her friend Emma, who is also puzzled. Suddenly, an alarm goes off on May's phone. She starts praying, asking for her marriage and her husband. After finishing, she turns back to continue chatting. Her friend Emma is very frustrated with May for staying in a relationship with Jaladi, who doesn't care about her. May says it's just the devil and that one day God will intervene. Emma still disagrees with May. That night, May falls asleep watching TV. Her husband comes home with another woman and asks May, "What are you doing here?" May wakes up. Jaladi says, "You can go sleep inside because this lady here wants to watch TV." Jaladi then asks his side chick, "What do you want to drink?" May, very angry, returns and starts talking to her husband, saying, "This is a man who has turned his back on God. There's nothing worse than turning away from God." She then turns to the side chick and says, "There's no greater curse than sleeping with someone else's husband. Adultery is a big sin." Then she leaves. The side chick, realizing the man is married, gets very angry and leaves. Jaladi becomes furious and follows May inside, yelling at her and eventually hitting her. The next morning, May's eye is swollen and red. Jaladi tells her to apply makeup to cover it up so that no one at her office knows he hit her. Then he leaves. May puts on sunglasses at work. Her friend Emma comes over, removes the sunglasses, and turns her face, discovering that Jaladi hit her. May starts explaining, "He brought a woman home. That's what led to the fight, and then he hit me." Emma gets very angry, feeling the pain of her friend being abused. She tells May to leave him. At church, the pastor is giving a sermon. Jaladi is surprised that today's sermon is about men hitting women. It feels like the pastor is talking directly to him. After the service, the pastor, his wife, May, and Jaladi meet. It's revealed that May had informed the pastor about the state of her marriage. The pastor asks why they sleep in separate rooms. Jaladi says it's not a big deal. It's because May snores too much, and he couldn't stand it. The pastor is surprised and says 2 years is too long for a married couple to sleep in separate rooms. He then asks about the side chick Gelati brought home. Gelati claims she was just a friend. The pastor's wife intervenes, saying, "But hitting your wife because of this so-called friend? That doesn't add up." Gelati continues to deny, saying it was an accident. Eventually, Gelati kneels and asks his wife for forgiveness. They embrace. On the way home in the car, May is very happy and thanks God for her husband's change. Gelati stops the car, unbuckles his seatbelt, gets out, walks to May's side, opens her door, pulls her out of the car, and leaves her there. May, as usual, prays for her marriage that night. The next morning, while May is reading the Bible, Gelati comes and tells her he's leaving for a meeting and will be back in 5 days. May asks him to call her when he gets there to let her know he's safe. Gelati says he'll just text her and leaves, dropping his phone on the way out. Later, May is at work having lunch with her friend Emma when she gets a call from a new number. She answers and gets the heartbreaking news that Gelati has been in a severe accident and has died. May wakes up, realizing it was just a dream. She rushes to check on her husband and finds him there. The next morning, May is reading the Bible as usual when the events of her dream start happening in real life. Gelati comes, says he's going to a conference and will be back in 5 days. May asks him not to go on this trip. Gelati asks why he shouldn't go. May explains that she had a dream last night where everything happening now occurred. Gelati doesn't listen and leaves. That night, May is very anxious and tries calling her husband, but he doesn't answer. She fears he might have had an accident. She starts praying, and suddenly Gelati walks in. He starts explaining what happened. He says the car he was supposed to travel in had a terrible accident and no one survived, so he thanks his wife for saving him. They embrace. The next day, Gelati starts thanking God. May is surprised. Gelati starts calling her sweet names and says, "Come sit here. Do you know what? I woke up very early today, but didn't want to wake you because I knew you stayed up late praying, and you are very beautiful." May is shocked. She can't believe Gelati has changed. Gelati says, "Sorry, I didn't make you tea. I wanted to pray first. By the way, there's something I wanted to tell you. Our company is merging with another one, and we will start working officially. I want you to help me see if this plan will succeed like you did with the accident." He continues to insist that May predicts the future for him, giving her office files. May is confused and thinks her husband is pretending to care just to get her predictions. Later, May is reading the Bible when Gelati brings her tea. May asks, "Why are you doing all this?" Gelati says, "I just want to know if you've seen the visions." May is surprised and says, "I don't have the ability to see. God just used me that night. You need to pray more, and you will see what you want to see." Gelati gets up and says, "So I've been wasting my time all this while, right?" He immediately changes his attitude, starts saying strange things, and leaves. One day, May decides to go for a health checkup at the church's hospital. After some time, the doctor calls her in to give her the results. He tells her, "There's something in your blood. The tests show you have HIV." The nurses at the hospital are shocked and start spreading the news about May's HIV status. It reaches the church, and the pastors call Gelati to give him the news about his wife's condition. Gelati laughs and says, "From today, we will not give tithes or offerings, not even for the church construction fund. Don't even think of calling us." He says many bad things and then leaves. At home, May is crying, unable to believe she has HIV. She paces around her room, praying and crying. Her friend Emma comes over and advises her, "There are medications you can take to live a long life." May says, "I don't have HIV. I can't accept this." Her friend continues to console her, urging her to accept the truth and start living with it. But May is very resistant, gets up angrily, and Emma tries to calm her down. Eventually, May decides to accept her condition. At church, when May tries to sit with her fellow youths, they get up and move away from her because she has HIV. It was a very tough time for her. One day, a woman from the church brings a letter to May. stating that she is being removed from the youth leadership position because of her HIV status. May becomes even more distressed. One day, after a tiring day at church, May comes home to find that Jaladi has locked her out. She spends the night outside. In the morning, she calls him to open the door. Jaladi tells her to go stay with the pastor. But later, he relents and comes to unlock the door. When Jaladi steps outside, he realizes May had spent the night outside and is exhausted. May greets him. "Good morning, my husband. I hope you woke up well. What would you like for breakfast?" Jaladi is shocked and unable to respond. May says, "I'll cook whatever you like," and then goes inside. After being angry with her husband, May decides to cook for him anyway. Jaladi hears May singing happily in the kitchen and is further astonished. Days pass, and May continues with her duties as usual. Jaladi watches her, amazed. He finally sits down to reflect. Why am I treating my wife this way when she has no problem and loves me so much? I must be the one with the problem. Tears start flowing from Jaladi's eyes. That night, while May is asleep, Jaladi enters her room, kneels, and begins to confess all his wrongdoings, asking for her forgiveness while she sleeps. He kisses her on the forehead and starts praying, asking God why May, who is so good and faithful, should suffer from HIV instead of him. Why does this person who believes in you and worships you have to suffer this way? Is this how you treat those who serve and love you? Jaladi continues to cry and then leaves. As soon as he leaves, May opens her eyes and starts crying deeply. The next morning, May comes out of her room to find her husband on his knees, waiting to ask for her forgiveness. May kneels down too and forgives him, and they embrace joyfully. The next day, Emma comes over. May tells her that she is thankful to God because her husband has changed, and she believes this time it is for real. While they are talking, May receives a call from an unfamiliar number. The caller introduces himself as the doctor who tested her for HIV. He apologizes profusely, explaining that there was a mix-up with the blood samples because they tested many people that day. They have rechecked the samples and found that May does not have HIV at all. May pulls the phone away from her ear, staring at it in shock and amazement. Emma, seeing her reaction, asks what happened. May just cries with joy. A few days later, Jaladi and May go to the altar to thank God for everything that has happened in their lives and ask for more strength. And this is where the movie titled Faith Beyond Fate ends. Are you a movie enthusiast looking for quick, clear, and enjoyable recaps of your favorite films? Look no further. At Nigeflix's, we bring you the best movie recaps. Subscribe now and relive the magic with every video.